For a long time, people assumed that the Green Lantern series would be serious, but still kind of safe. Dark for new DC standards, but nothing crazy. And now it's becoming very clear that Lanterns is going way further than most fans expected. This isn't just another superhero show with a bit of edge. This feels like HBO doing what old HBO does best, and DC finally letting them cook. What's interesting is that Lanterns isn't trying to feel like a typical comic book adaptation at all. The vibe they're going for is grounded, tense, and uncomfortable in a good way. This isn't about big, colorful space battles every 5 minutes. It's about mood, character, and a mystery that slowly crawls under your skin. The comparison to True Detective didn't come out of nowhere, and once you really think about it, it actually makes perfect sense. At the center of the show are Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, played by Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre. Two Lanterns, two completely different generations, thrown together on Earth to investigate something that clearly goes way beyond a normal superhero case. According to James Gunn, they uncover an ancient horror on Earth, and that wording alone tells you everything you need to know about the tone. Ancient horror doesn't sound like a CGI monster you punch once and move on. It sounds like something slow, ugly, and deeply wrong. Before even getting into theories, it's important to understand what kind of show this actually is. Lanterns isn't just made for HBO Max. This is a full HBO production, which matters enormously. HBO has a very different relationship with content compared to most streaming platforms. They're known for adult storytelling, uncomfortable dialogue, and letting scenes breathe without worrying about toy sales or kid-friendly ratings. The official rating hasn't been announced yet, but let's be real, this thing is almost certainly TV May. And there's actually proof. Nathan Fillion, who plays Guy Gardner, already revealed that he dropped more F-bombs on his first day of shooting Lanterns than in his entire career put together. That was literally in the script. That tells you everything about HBO's approach here. In movies, PG-13 barely allows 1 or 2 F-bombs before the rating jumps to R. TV works differently, but the logic is similar, and HBO has never been shy about pushing language, violence, and themes as far as they need to go. If you watched Creature Commandos, DC's first animated series in this new universe, you already saw how they handled the TVMA rating. So if you're expecting a safe, sanitized Green Lantern show, this is absolutely not that. What makes this even more interesting is how Lanterns connects to the larger DCU. We already met Fillion's Guy Gardner in Superman, and James Gunn absolutely nailed that character. Loud, cocky, kind of annoying, but also clearly powerful and capable. Guy is confirmed to appear in Lanterns as well, but don't expect the same tone. Superman was colorful and lighter. Lanterns is shaping up to be colder, dirtier, and much more grounded, and that contrast feels completely intentional. It's like DC Studios is finally embracing genre variety inside one shared universe. Superman gives you optimism, Lanterns gives you paranoia. Now let's talk about the release window, because that part has been genuinely confusing. Originally, Lanterns was expected to hit HBO Max in early 2026, but current updates from Peter Safran, DC Studios co-CEO, confirm the show will arrive in late summer 2026. It's taking longer, but honestly, for a project like this, that's probably a good thing. The cast actually finished shooting the entire first season by October, so the delay is clearly about post-production and strategic release timing. There was already a trailer shown behind closed doors at an HBO upfront presentation, and sadly it's not online yet, but the details that leaked from that trailer are extremely telling. From what's been described, Hal Jordan is not the original Lantern meant to train Jon Stewart. He's a substitute. Someone else was supposed to mentor Jon, and Hal is filling in. That alone opens up a massive door for speculation. In the comics and animated adaptations, Jon Stewart has been trained by different Lanterns over the years, but one name stands out immediately: Katma Tui. Fans of the Justice League animated series will remember her as Jon's mentor and eventually his wife. And if DC brings her into the live-action DCU, that would be massive. Not just for representation and honoring that iconic relationship, but for where the story could go. If Katma Tui exists in this universe and was originally supposed to train Jon, then her absence matters. Something happened. And once you start pulling that thread, you quickly end up in very dark territory. Maybe she's dead, maybe something worse. The trailer also reportedly shows Hal and Jon constantly butting heads. That dynamic makes total sense for what they're building. Hal is the old-school Lantern, a legend who's been around forever. Jon is disciplined, focused, an ex-Marine, and not interested in ego. That friction is exactly what you want in a grounded detective-style story. Two cops who don't trust each other, forced to work together in a small Nebraska town called Rushville, investigating a murder in the American heartland. There's also a quick glimpse of Hal mid-fight in that closed-door trailer, trailer, which suggests that while the show is grounded, it's not afraid of action. It's just using it way more carefully and strategically. Another fun detail from what leaked is a reference to Chip, the squirrel-like alien, who's been part of the Green Lantern Corps since the early 80s. That might sound goofy at first, but including something like that actually shows confidence. It tells me the show isn't embarrassed by the source material. It's just choosing when and how to use it intelligently. The cast itself is stacked in a very HBO way. Kyle Chandler brings instant gravitas to Hal Jordan. Aaron Pierre, coming off Rebel Ridge, feels like a perfect choice for Jon Stewart as a compelling new face who can carry dramatic weight. Nathan Fillion returning as Guy Gardner is just the cherry on top. And then there's Kelly MacDonald as Sheriff Kerry, who seems to be both a romantic interest for Hal and a grounded anchor in this Nebraska town. Poorna Jagannathan plays a character named Zoe, described as someone with natural confidence and grace who matches the composure and cleverness of the powerful men around her, and there's speculation she might develop a romantic connection with John. And then there's Ulrich Thompson as Sinestro. A former Lantern who went rogue is exactly the kind of character that fits this tone perfectly. Sinestro isn't a loud, scenery-chewing villain. He's ideological, manipulative, and according to his character description, ruthless yet undeniably charming, with an enduring obsession with his former mentee, Hal Jordan. In a show about fear, control, and cosmic authority, he fits perfectly. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's been a long-standing and very credible rumor that Garrett Dillahunt is playing Black Hand. Officially, his character is named William Macon, described as a modern cowboy with ruthless ambition and charm. That description already feels suspicious to anyone who knows DC lore. And when you remember that Black Hand's real name in the comics is William Hand, the connection becomes almost impossible to ignore. Now bring back James Gunn's comment about an ancient horror on Earth. That doesn't sound like Sinestro, that sounds like death. That sounds like the Black Lantern mythos. If Black Hand is involved, then Lanterns could be laying the groundwork for something absolutely massive and genuinely dark. The Black Lantern Corps is one of the darkest teams DC has ever done. It deals with death, resurrection, emotional manipulation, and the existential weight of loss. That's the kind of material Geoff Johns wrote when he introduced it in 2009, not something you introduce lightly, but HBO is exactly the place to do it. Here's another layer worth considering. In DC Comics, Atrocitus leads the Red Lanterns and plays a crucial role in the Blackest Night arc. He survived a massacre by rogue manhunters along with only 4 other beings, forming the 5 Inversions. These 5 performed a ritual that allowed them to see into the future, and they discovered the Blackest Night prophecy, which predicted the end of all life in the universe. Atrocitus discovered that William Hand was destined to become the Black Hand, the herald of the Blackest Night. He wanted to kill William to prevent this prophecy and take the power for himself. All of this cosmic mythology is now potentially being seeded into the DCU through Lanterns. So what if the murder in Rushville that draws the Lanterns to Earth isn't just a random crime? What if it's something ritualistic, something bearing the fingerprints of either Atrocitus seeking out William Hand, or William himself performing something that requires cosmic law enforcement to investigate? What if Hal and John discover evidence that an ancient being, maybe even Atrocitus himself, is operating on Earth? That would absolutely qualify as an ancient horror. That would also position Lanterns as not just a standalone mystery, but as the entry point into something much larger in the DCU, and that's exactly what James Gunn said it was going to do. According to Peter Safran, the mystery in Lanterns plays a massive role in leading into the main story they're telling across the entire DCU. The writing team alone tells you how serious DC is about this. Chris Mundy is the showrunner and comes from Ozark, where he built tension over multiple seasons and knew how to make ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances absolutely compelling. Damon Lindelof, who created Lost and wrote the Watchmen miniseries for HBO, understands how to plant clues, build mystery, and make audiences theorize for years. And Tom King, an Eisner Award-winning comic book writer, understands the emotional depth needed to make superhero stories feel real and consequential. These aren't people brought in to make a safe show. These are architects of complex, morally ambiguous storytelling. James Hawes, who's directing the first 2 episodes, has done beautiful work on Slow Horses and Black Mirror. These are shows that understand mood and dread. The fact that they're shooting in LA, but setting the story in rural Nebraska Alaska means they're going to create this authentic small-town atmosphere where something deeply wrong has invaded a place that's supposed to be safe. This is why Lanterns feels so important to the DCU. It's not just another show, it's a tone setter. It tells the audience that this universe can go to very dark places without losing intelligence or restraint. It can be grounded and cosmic at the same time. It can respect the source material while reinventing it for a new medium. And honestly, after seeing how James Gunn handled Guy Gardner in Superman, my confidence in this project went way up. If he can balance comic accuracy with grounded storytelling there, Lanterns could end up being one of the best things DC has ever put on screen. Late summer 2026 can't come soon enough.